Hello, welcome to TisTalk.
This is a podcast coming from Tisbury, Wiltshire and surrounding villages. I'm Julianne Murphy.
And I'm Mary Myers.
This is the week beginning the 28th of October. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Julianne.
How are you?
Very well. Welcome back from your holidays.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Had a nice time in Ireland?
Yeah, I had a very nice time, thank you.
I hear it's all very Halloweeny over there.
Yeah, well, the Irish think they invented it,
Right.
so they make a really big deal out of Halloween.
Yeah.
And talking of which, Mary, I think something's disturbing you.
It is. It is indeed. There's this weird thing on the square in Tisbury, which is a ghost that looks out onto the square on the top floor of the care home. The Cedars care home. Oh, it used to be called the Cedars, it's called something else now. Albany House, sorry. Albany House. Yeah. And I don't know if anyone else has seen that. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Go and see it. It makes my hair stand on end when I ever see it. And it's not just for Halloween, you know. It's not just there because the outside at the moment is covered in spiders and all that, and the whole of the high street is now kind of pumpkin theme and all that. It's there all the time.
Mary, are you sure? Has anybody else seen this thing in the window?
It's a friend of mine came for one of those walks, Tisbury walks, and she said, "Am I dreaming this, or is there a ghost looking out at us?" We were just finishing our walk in the square, and I went, "Oh my goodness, you're right." So she's seen it, and I have taken a photo of it. And I'm pretty sure it's there.
Okay.
But anyone out there, please tell us, what is this ghost? Who has put that ghost up there? Because it's really scary. So it is bothering me. Yeah.
All right.
And I'm going to try and get to the bottom of it.
Okay, Mary is going to investigate.
Yes, investigative journalism by TisTalk. Tisbury needs to know what this ghost is.
So, Mary, what have we got on the programme this week?
Okay, well, we've got something rather exciting, which is a new contributor, and her name's Jeni Bell, and she's a nature writer based near Alverdiston. And this week she's going to be contributing a love letter to Wiltshire. And she's quite famous because she's been on the BBC with this piece, actually, already.
Okay.
And she's promising us more such nature pieces. It's all about sights and sounds and her feelings about the local area.
Oh, so, good. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Then we thought we'd have something from the surgery, didn't we?
Yes, on flu.
Yeah, about coming for your flu and COVID jabs from Tisbury Surgery.
Okay. And then we've got Wendy Spencer-Smith with a short little exercise piece.
Yeah. Wasn't it amazing last time she was on just saying, "Why don't you try this? I did it when I was bringing up 5 children and I was training for a marathon."
No.
Incredible.
Where does she get her energy from? She's amazing.
She is. And then we have a link appeal from Anne Martin. And then we've got the What's Ons.
Okay.
First up, we're very pleased to present Jeni Bell, A Love Letter to Wiltshire, in what we hope will be the first of a series of nature writing from the Cranbourne Chase area of outstanding natural beauty. Jeni is an award-winning writer inspired by nature, place and how we can find connection and meaning within them. Based on the Wiltshire-Dorset border, she can usually be found walking her local woodland in search of flora, fauna and folklore.
It started as all good love stories start, in the spring, as the warming breeze whipped its way through the first blooms of wildflowers. Yellow-headed daffodils nodded their approval and blessings were granted from the bluebells that cast lilac hues in woodland shade. It grew with the skylark's song, and by midsummer, when the lanes were blushed pink with red campion, I blushed back. this love had settled. By the time autumn came, and leaves changed from green to rust and threatened to fall, my love clung on. And even in the bare branches of winter, when the frost bit hard and the mud grew thicker, it did not disappear, or wilt, or threaten to vanish. My love held firm. I am not Wiltshire born and bred. There is no moonraker made in me, but I have fallen for it. I often come to sit on a hill near the county lines, where I can make out my old home of Hampshire on the horizon, and I trudge up the steep incline in all seasons, with the wildflowers, with the falling leaves, and with the sting of winter winds. The counties spread wide before me, reaching in opposite directions as red kites sail on wide wings like ships at sea. But I now look to the sweeping downs and staggered copses for home. Back turned on Hampshire, I face the expanse of my new love, rural Wiltshire, and I like to think that since that day I slipped from one county to the other, it has welcomed me in. And since then, since I first fell in love in the summer 7 years ago, I have continued to fall deeper. A love founded in Wiltshire's wilds, that in summer smell of dry high heat, when the moons are made larger and redder by the drifting dust of harvest, and in the winter are still, almost silent, save for the quiet whisper of a chalk stream carving its way across the countryside. There is much to love here. I love it because it calls me deeper, to explore, to follow my feet along the old drove roads, ushering along stone chats as I go, or disturbing sparkling clusters of linnets from crops. I love it because it calls me to stop, to look deeper, to notice the white rumps of roe deer that skirt along the hedge line, or the passing scent of fox from road to copse. I love it because it is a landscape that encourages me to discover, to think on earthworks and barrows and all the stories they carry beneath its chalky skin. But most of all, I love it because it welcomes. It quietly accepts and shows you its secrets, regardless of your heritage. I feel welcomed by Wiltshire, welcomed by its mesmerising landscape. My love affair, the one that started in the spring to a soundtrack of Skylark song, still pulls at me with the same intensity in which it began. When I'm here, it drags me from my desk, insisting I finish work early, beckoning me to walk up that steep hill with the red kites and the big skies. And when I'm not here, I'm thinking of it, of the downs and the animals and those drove roads that cut high above the landscape, my feet twitching for their familiarity. And like all good love stories, it strengthens with the seasons and knowing. It's one that promises to be here for many springs to come.
And that was A Love Letter to Wiltshire by Jeni Bell. More of Jeni's work can be found at www.seekingwildsights.co.uk.
Next we have Anne Martin talking to Victoria Smith, a nurse at Tisbury Surgery who provides information about the flu and COVID jabs.
I'm sitting in Tisbury Surgery today, a place that I'm sure you all know very well, with Victoria Smith, who's the lead nurse at the surgery, and she's in charge of the vaccination programme. So why should people have COVID and flu vaccinations?
So COVID and flu are winter respiratory viruses that can make people very sick, particularly the people as they get older. Their immune systems aren't as good. Those with medical conditions that mean that their immune system doesn't work as well. So each year, the strains of these viruses mutate, which is why we vaccinate you every year. So we review the strains that are circulating around the southern hemisphere, so we know we can predict what is going to come our way in the winter, and we can make sure the vaccinations are protecting you against the correct strains. So we say that people should have their vaccinations every year, even if they've had them before, to make sure they're up to date for this season.
That's great. That's great. I think that's something that people don't realise, that once you've had a COVID vaccination, or 3 or 4 in previous years, you still need to go on having them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how should people go about getting a vaccination?
So everyone who's eligible should have had a text message, an initial text message that was sent back at the start of the season in September. So once you've had that message saying you're eligible, you remain eligible right through the season. So if you didn't use the booking link that lasts 7 days on that text message, you can phone up at any time and get booked into one of our clinics. We will send reminder texts periodically, which will have booking links on them as well, but you don't have to wait for another text. As long as you've been invited, you can just phone up and book in.
Oh, that's good. And people can have flu and COVID at the same time?
Yeah, we give them both at the same time. There's no adverse effect on the immune system. You can absolutely cope with having both of them at the same time. Obviously, they can give you sore arms. We do one in each arm. And you are allowed to ask to have them separately as well. We're happy to do so. You can have one and not the other if that's what you desire. We're very flexible, and we'll support you to get vaccinated.
Oh, that's really reassuring to hear. And you mentioned that also there's another vaccination coming along soon. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, so that's the RSV vaccination. So it's for another respiratory winter virus that is showing that it's just as deadly as flu. We've started vaccinating the 75 to 79-year-olds. So people should be getting their invitations quite soon for that. So some people have already started getting vaccinated. We do like to have a period between doing flu and COVID and the RSV, so we won't do those at the same time. As people turn 75, they will be invited for this vaccination as well.
Oh, that's really good. We're very lucky to have a surgery in Tisbury that looks after our population. So, as Victoria said, please come along and have your vaccinations. I had mine recently, 1 in each arm, no adverse effects. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
TisTalk, a podcast from Tisbury on tistalk.buzzsprout.com.
Next up, we have another fitness tip from Wendy Spencer-Smith.
Hello there, this is Wendy Spencer-Smith and I'm here with this week's fitness tips. So I thought this week we'd look at back mobility. So we're going to do some exercises here to get our back moving. So you can do these standing if you want to, or you can do them sitting in a chair. That will be fine also. So the first thing we're going to do is, I'm going to do these from sitting. So I'll give the instructions from sitting, but you can do them from standing if you want to. So we're going to sit with both sit bones in contact with the chair there, and we're going to lift up through the spine, crown of the head going to the ceiling, and draw in with our belly button here, keeping our core tight. Just move the shoulders a little bit, take a little bit of movement in the back here just to warm through the back. Just rolling the shoulders around, just moving the back from side to side, just feeling a little bit of stretch there. So now we're just going to settle down to working on our back mobility. So we're going to place our hands on our hips and we're going to breathe out, and as we breathe out, slide the hands down the legs to the knees. You're going to draw in with the belly button, drop the chin to the chest, so we've got this rounding through our back. Just going to hold it there for a moment. And then we're going to breathe in, and as we breathe in, slide the hands back towards our hips. So slide them up over the thighs, back towards our hip. Just lift the head a little bit, eye line up to the ceiling, and open through the chest so we can draw the shoulders back. Then we're going to exhale again, or breathe out again. Draw the belly button in towards the backbone. Slide the hands down towards the knees and feel the rounding in the spine there. And then as we inhale, we're just going to open up with the chest there. Take the head up to the ceiling. Slide the hands up to the thighs. Well done. And then just coming back into our neutral spine. That just means keeping our spine in its normal position. So you can repeat that a number of times if you want to. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to do a little twist here. So this one will probably be better sitting down. So if you are standing, sit down now. So bring your knees together. We're going to place our left hand on our lap and take the right hand behind us. So we're going to inhale or breathe in, lengthen up through our spine here. And then as we breathe out, we're going to turn our body to the side towards our back hand. So just taking it round as much as you can, and where you're comfortable. We're just going to hold it there for a moment, and then we're going to come back to the center again. And then you can change hands, and you can put the right hand in front, the left hand behind. Same thing, lengthen through the spine, and then turn to look behind you or towards the side, and then coming back to the center. So there's a couple of movements there for your back, for your mobility for your back. And if you're interested, I've got a nice yoga class that runs on a Friday morning in Tisbury, and that is from 10:45 to 11:45. So if you're interested in that yoga class, you can call me on 077 65 089 667.
This is TisTalk from Tisbury, Wiltshire.
Now Anne Martin talks to Alastair Brown on his experience as a volunteer driver for the Link scheme in Tisbury, who, by the way, are still urgently in need of drivers.
I'm sitting with Alastair Brown today talking about Link, the wonderful service that we have in Tisbury for taking people to medical appointments. Can you tell us a bit about what being a Link driver is like?
We all receive a list of the drives that are coming up in the next week or so, and it's entirely up to us to say whether we can do it or not. So we put in one or two drives or more that we can do and send it to the coordinator. And that's the sort of first bit. Then the next thing, you'll get a response from the coordinator, and they will say, thank you very much, we'd like to put you down for this one. And then they send you the information about the person you're going to see. And that's really important because you know who it is, where it is, when it's going to happen, the timings, and you basically know enough to be able to engage in conversation with them. And that is actually what I love. It is the enjoyment of talking to people that you, in many cases, never met before. And you can really find out so much about Tisbury, history, the people, the individuals. And it makes one's whole job of being a driver very satisfying. I just enjoy it enormously.
That's great. And I guess a lot of the people are elderly people because of the nature of hospital appointments and so on. But there is a wide range of people, isn't there?
Indeed. And primarily I've had older people, but I've also had younger people too, who've had to go to swimming help in the hospital, and people who've broken bones. And so the range is enormous. And it's not only for medical appointments. Sometimes you get people to take, who want taking to their spouses in a home or something like that. And there again, you meet people with a different link on life. And you can have the discussions which help them and help you too to understand.
And some of the drives are quite short, aren't they? They vary a lot in length. So Can you tell me a bit about the sort of places that you take people to?
Indeed, there are quite a lot of drives simply inside Tisbury. So you might be asked to take somebody from their home on the outskirts of Tisbury to the surgery, which may be 2 miles. And that's just as valuable because they may not be able to walk at all. So that's a great help. And then conversely, I've done drives down to Southampton, and that's quite a drive. But it's immensely important because they're going to somewhere where the service is provided because they can't provide it in Salisbury. So it's important that one does those if one can. But if you can't do a drive, the great thing is not to feel guilty that you can't. You're doing what you can do. There is no compunction. I think that's the important thing.
Yes, that's great. How does it work then with, do you get money for driving, or what sort of recompense do you get?
It's quite simple. For every mile you've done, and you record the mileages, you get 45p a mile. And then the individual you're taking is given a little envelope, and they put into that what they can afford for the journey you've done. So for instance, somebody is driving to Salisbury, they might put in a £5 or £10, whatever they can afford. And if clearly they can't, well, you might say to them, look, don't worry, because you're just paying for what you could do, what you can afford, and there's no compunction here. So it's that's how it works.
But as the driver, you get your 45p a mile, regardless of what the client pays.
Absolutely you do. And that quite simply, at the end of a period when you've done a number of drives, it's all very well done. You put it in, you put the details in of what you've done and the cost to our great accountant, who will then put the money into your bank in the next week or so. Very, very slick, very well organised.
Yeah, good. So Link is desperately in need of drivers. So if you feel that you could help Link, please call this number 07484 284 670 or email tisburylink@gmail.com. We really hope to hear from you soon at Tisbury Link. Thank you very much, Alastair.
I've enjoyed it enormously, and I would recommend people to join Link. Very satisfying, very enjoyable.
Here are the what's-ons for the coming week. On Tuesday the 29th of October, the Tisbury Flower Group's AGM takes place in the Hinton Hall from 7 p.m. Also on the same evening, Green Drinks will take place in the Boot from 7:30 p.m. This is an informal meeting to discuss green issues. Anyone and everyone is welcome. On Wednesday the 30th at 10 a.m. until 12 noon, the Tisbury Memory Group will take place in the Hinton Hall. On Friday the 1st of November at 2 p.m, Tisbury's Jacob Hulland and family present Through the Looking Glass at Bath's Mission Theatre, so no, that's Bath, not Tisbury, on Corn Street. And the following day, Saturday the 2nd, a second performance will take place at 6:30 p.m. Back in Tisbury on Saturday the 2nd, Tisbury Country Market will take place in the Victoria Hall between 10 and 11 a.m. Have a good week.
That's all from us. We've been Julianne Murphy
and Mary Myers, with special thanks this week to Jeni Bell, Anne Martin, Wendy Spencer-Smith and Tom Davison.
You can contact us on tistalkradio@gmail.com.